We just knew that the earth was our mother and everything we had came from her. So we respected her, called on her sometimes if it was too hot and things were drying up, or if it got too wet and everything was washing away, or, I mean, things always settled down and worked out.
Okay.
As long as you respect Mother Earth, she respects you back.
So can you consider Earth then a training ground?
Oh, it is for a lot, yes. For a lot of beings. And they haven't really been helped a whole lot. Well, okay, there have been other beings that have helped with this, and at the same time, there were beings who were trying to tear it all down and stir up the chaos. So it's
Yeah.
it's been an interesting place to visit, whether it's in a physical existence or someone like myself just observing.
In another session, you mentioned that Earth is a training ground for entities. Are there any other 3D worlds that are training grounds?
Well, yeah.
Is that the purpose of 3D worlds? Just to be training grounds?
Not training grounds alone, but they can be utilized that way because of the experiences they have and what they do with those experiences. And they can be, if they're open enough, if they're open, their guides, their higher selves, angels will assist. So in that regard, they can be training grounds.
How many other ET species have visited Earth?
Oh,
I'm not asking for names at this time.
there are probably a couple hundred in your
Cool.
way of reckoning.
That is since the beginning of the Earth, huh?
Yeah.
So did any of them visit whenever the Earth was still forming?
Some did.
Cool.
And some have been here off and on over the millennia, others over centuries. Others came once and left.
Okay.
Even more recently, there have been those who have visited and then left. It just depends on their own agenda.
Okay. We believe an asteroid struck the Earth and is responsible for the death of dinosaurs. Is that correct?
Many asteroids have hit the Earth, responsible for many deaths. You wish to know about the dinosaurs?
Yep. The one that killed the dinosaurs.
Yeah. It's
Okay.
correct for what it is.
And I know you actually asked the rest of that question, so I don't have to ask it. I have heard that a large asteroid strike or comets struck the ocean, caused a great flood, and sank Atlantis. Is that true?
One of the times that was it.
So I take it's been multiple times that Atlantis has sunk?
Oh, yeah. Or been swamped by tsunamis or flooded for whatever the reasons.
Okay. This next one is kind of weird, but I ask weird questions. There's a theory that all continents on this planet at one time was one supercontinent named Pangea. Other than the name, can you shed any light on that event?
Well, was one continent at one time. People just decided to call it, you humans decided to call it Pangea. So what more light can I shed?
What I'm referring to is, oh, you already answered it. Never mind. About what time in the Earth's lifespan or in the past did Pangea separate? I see a smile. What's a smile for?
Time.
Yes.
Everything is now.
I understand that.
So it happened now, it happened later, it happened tomorrow. Because it all happened now. You're looking for, billions of years ago.
Something like that.
Many millions of years ago.
Oh, okay.
In your reckoning. Mm-hmm.
Were dinosaurs living at that time?
Ancestors of dinosaurs.
Okay. So dinosaurs actually evolved or grew after Pangea split apart.
When it began splitting apart, they were in the midst of their evolution.
Okay. Were there any bipeds alive at that time? Including apes or any ancestors of mankind or anything like that?
That's what you're looking for. No.
Okay.
Plus, just remember, those of you watching, that there's an infinite number of Earths. Some don't vary too much from the one that you know. Some are vastly different. Hence, the different collectives involved, the different directions, the people, humans, take things. So there are infinite possibilities as well as probabilities. Put it that way. These tumultuous times are coming to an end sooner than you might realize. And I know that the word sooner implies time. But you all live in a linear time frame, so I have to explain it that way. That doesn't mean it'll be tomorrow. But this is a positive time of good change. We mentioned politics earlier, politicians. As a group, as a whole, politicians realize they're losing their grip on the people. Worldwide. That's one reason they're so frantic to grab tighter. Because the people realize that these so-called leaders are anything but. And the people want peace. They want the money that's spent on wars and selfishness and greed, and even in a lot of ways progress, as you all think of it. That money could be better spent cleaning up Mother Gaia and feeding everyone. Your planet is not overpopulated. Well, with normal people. It's overpopulated with the so-called leadership. Anyway, that was just an editorial on my part. But rejoice, everyone, for that day is coming. Those who expect it, who pray for it, who meditate on that, who, I was going to say do what they can, but, well, yeah, to lift everybody up to that point where the earth shifts and splits into two earths, as Bashar says. One for those who haven't figured it out, and the other for those who have, and know that if they're just loving and compassionate, accepting, if they're helpful to each other, send the white light of love out to each and every one of yourselves, starting with yourself, then you will be in this new Gaia that is clean and peaceful and is happy to supply the needs of the people. And the people are recognizing their own worthiness. It's easier to say. Because each of you is worthy, or you wouldn't exist. You wouldn't even be here. You wouldn't be listening. You wouldn't be wondering. You wouldn't be breathing. You are worthy. You are unique. You are loving. You are loved. Tell yourself that every day, every moment of every day. And know that your new earth is coming. Maybe not quite the way traditional religions might say it happens, but yeah, the new earth is coming. The lion will lie down with the lamb.
Does Gaia have life cycles?
Oh yes, she's a living entity.
Let me finish, please. I know she has them because of spraying and all that type of stuff, but let me finish because I'm looking for a different type of answer. For example, the sun has an 11-year sunspot cycle. Mm-hmm. The earth has its annual cycles it goes through too. What type of long cycles does Gaia go through that are repetitive? Like an ice age or
yes,
something like that are repetitive.
Ice ages. Physical, oh no, I shouldn't say physical, although they come to pass to the humans on her as physical. But the changes, physical changes other than ice ages, it can be something from the core, it can be they're cyclic things of whether the core is hot, really hot, or cooling off, whether it is spinning one direction or another, whether it comes to a stop, it'll start up again. Yes, you're aware of seasonal changes, but those are just superficial. What about the cleansing of beings on her surface, not just human, but animals? People bemoan the fact that the dinosaurs were destroyed because there was a reason for that. They had reached the end of their evolution and they needed to be cleansed. Something would have happened, whether it was an asteroid or comet What about the wildfires that you're all experiencing right now? And then there are floods and droughts at the same time, and cyclic behavior on Gaia's part. Fortunately for humanity, such things, especially happening all at once, are few and far between. The cycles are very lengthy in your way of thinking. The increase in volcanic activity, tectonic plate activity, which the Earth has recently, well, not just recently, but the most recent example was quite devastating to humanity in the area. There's all those things. I know that humanity thinks that they have caused climate change, and climate change is having these results. It isn't entirely humanity's fault. Gaia is going through a cycle. She would do it whether humanity was messing things up or not. Although humanity does need to be aware of what they're doing and how harmful it can be. So that's not to say that humanity has not had any part in this cycle. It's just that humanity must remember Gaia is a living organism. And you're torturing her. Stop, please. The important thing to know is that, because you're asking about Gaia's cycles, well, the people on her surface go through cycles where they know things, then they forget them, then they get all angry and fearful, and then they come around and start to understand again, and they get a little more enlightened, and then your linear time stretches out and generations forget and they get all angry. And okay, so there are cycles on Gaia of everything on her surface and underneath. And fortunately, this is a time of gaining more knowledge, growing spiritually, and that eventual split to where there's a new earth and the old earth. And the people who violently disagree with letting go of fear, of getting to know your true self, those people will be on the old earth. And those who are like yourselves, searching, learning, exploring, wanting to know these answers, we will be on the new earth. Again, it's not going to happen overnight. That was a bust. Anyway, but it will come about. I would say that you're on the precipice. So continue your meditations, your seeking answers, your inquiries, your opening up to the value every being of humanity on this planet has. You may not agree with their thinking, their methodology, their belief systems, but they are valuable in and of themselves, or they wouldn't have come into existence. They wouldn't be on your planet. They're playing their part in coming to this split, in coming to the new, I was going to say new age. I think the new age has already begun. But the new earth, which will be a physical transformation in your very near future. Well, I say very near, but like I said, that's not tomorrow. Since your time is linear, I will say, just think of the time as now. Now. This is it.
Since Gaia is a living being, can she influence an asteroid not to smash into her, or is she at the mercy of the universe?
That's a loaded question.
I know it is. So give me a loaded message. Answer.
In many ways, the current universe, specifically your solar system, is a result of the plan of the collective in creating this existence for you all. In that regard, Gaia can be seen to be at the mercy of the universe. However, since it's all part of the plan, she is part of the plan. She exists as part of this collective plan. Then she is accepting of a comet or asteroid or what have you. Sunspot, solar ejecta. She accepts it all. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, she's a team player, in other words.
She's definitely a team player. And in many ways is more apt to go with the flow than you human beings.
Oh, yeah. That's one I'm learning. I have to work on it. The reason of the question is the Earth has been hit a lot of times with asteroids and comets and meteors and things like that.
Meteorites.
Okay, meteorites.
When they...
I know. So that's why the question. Now, this is a follow-up question.
Mm-hmm.
When an impact event does happen, does Gaia feel it?
Oh, yes.
And what does she feel? How does she feel it?
Not pain per se.
That is good.
But the repercussions of the impact, vibrations throughout her crust, shall we say.
Wow.
Yes. She's very aware.
Now, the last session we had, whenever Chorus was speaking, they had mentioned that mankind is torturing Gaia. Does an asteroid also torture her?
Not in the same way. You see, an asteroid or comet or any of that other celestial, shall we say, impacts, near misses, whatever, as I said, are already part of the plan, and she accepts that. But humans, not early humans, not early hominids even, were not torturing her. But the current situation of air pollution, water pollution, physical impacts that human beings have caused, including the spiritual, mental, and physical poisoning of the beings, the living, breathing beings on her surface.
She feels that too.
She feels that. And that is a spiritual, conscious torture. That is what was meant.
Okay. How many ice ages have there been for Gaia?
I think your geologists have figured that out.
Oh, so there's none that they have missed, is what I'm thinking.
No major ones.
Okay.
Might have been a few lesser ones with less impact that they might be aware of, but discounted. They look at the big ones, the ones that cover half the planet, the ones that cull the living beings, including plants, the ones that push the rocks around.
You said CULL?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Because I heard CALL. Just wanted to clarify. In a previous session, we learned about the Martians who had an ability to work with Father Mars to create things that the Martians needed to live. Is this type of ability or action possible on Gaia?
It happens every day. Think about it. Gaia produces on her surface what her human beings need. Their need works with her ability to produce, to create, ideally, all they would ever need. All you would ever need.
Okay. I never thought of it that way. That's a slightly different view than what I usually have, so thank you.
Mm-hmm. You were thinking of construction of buildings and dwellings, and, well, in a way, Gaia does that, has done that all along.
I was thinking more of the idea that the entities who want it built would use their energies, their frequencies in sync to make things happen.
But that is what human beings do as well. Whether you use your energies to create wood and concrete and electrical wiring.
Oh, okay.
It's just that most human beings are not aware that that is what's happening.
I wasn't.
Right. In fact, probably 99.9999% of human beings are not aware that's what happens.
Okay.
And in some ways, there are beings who can utilize their energies in sync with various parts of their planet to create something a little different than what you human beings do, but it's the same concept.
Different processes, same results.
Yes.
Can you go into a little more depth on that, please?
Well, the Martians were brought up, or in speaking with the Martians, or learning about the Martians, however you want to put it, they were more aware of how to sync with Father Mars, with their planet, in a more jointly conscious manner as to achieve their goals without bringing any harm or detriment of any way to Mars, to their planet. So, in a way, I believe what you were considering was that maybe they'd use mental telepathy to create a dwelling for someone. It wasn't quite that way. It was more of their energies asking Father Mars to sync up and show them how best to achieve their goals, what they desired, without bringing any harm.
That is the question I wanted to ask, if we can do that for Gaia. See, the reason is I'm thinking long term, which I really shouldn't, because all there is now, but I'm thinking long term. And for us to live long term on a good Earth, we need to learn to respect Gaia a lot more than we're doing now. And I see our current way of manufacturing, reducing things, not really helping Gaia a lot. I see that, just as you were describing about the Martians, that would be the better way for us to take care of things that we need to live on Gaia's surface. Is this making sense to you?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
When such time as the earth becomes two, those who are enlightened will occupy the surface of one earth. At that time, the enlightened ones will be like the Martians and
excellent
work with their frequencies, their consciousness, with Gaia's consciousness, to produce what they desire. Probably Gaia will already be doing that. It will be a clean earth, and those enlightened beings will know how to keep her that way.
Good. Thank you. That's
part of enlightenment.
That's the answer I was hoping for. And that leads me right into the next question. What is meant by your phrase, when the earth splits?
That is also an interesting question to answer.
Yeah, I thought it would be. As you know, I like details. The
I
more
know.
the better.
As you know, everything is now.
Yep.
There is already an infinite number of possibilities and probabilities. Well, we'll limit it to Earth, to Gaia, which means that this split, so to speak, is basically movement into the reality of enlightened beings living on a very happy Gaia and leaving the others behind. So when we talk of the split, it's more of at risk of repeating myself.
Then say it a different way.
This other Earth, this enlightened populace of Earth already exists on that Earth. It's already in existence. When anyone talks of this Earth splitting, it's to acknowledge that of the nearly 8 billion souls currently living on the Earth that you already are aware of, there will be there's a differentiation that becomes final for this populace. The split is more that those living on that Earth, on the new Earth, shall we say, will no longer be involved with those living on the old Earth. There will be a literal split. But like I said, everything is now, so that has already happened. The current linear existence of 8 billion people will suddenly change and shift to in your collective consciousness. It will happen, but technically it already has.
Right. This new Earth, which is now in real time, but in Earth time it's not. Is that also the participants that make that happen, that are enlightened people and Gaia too? Is Gaia part of that mix?
Well, yes.
And you guys are part of that mix too?
All of consciousness is part of that.
So that means aliens are part of that too.
Mm-hmm.
Ah, okay. Things just boom in my head. Okay.
Good.
That's why open contact is so important, because that is the start of the new Earth.
Yes.
Thank you. That popped up in my head. Excellent. Thank you, Grumpy.
You see, when you listen, he is very knowledgeable.
Yes.
And he helps you a lot.
I'm trying to listen more. In our linear time, when will this split happen? You don't have to answer that one if you don't want to.
I will not.
Very good.
There are many variables.
Very good. I didn't expect you to, but I had it down anyhow. I've noticed that other channelers have talked about density, and so has Sarah. What is meant by that?
That's difficult to explain.
To me, density is heaviness. Something's more dense. It's a heavier substance. It's harder. It's more visible. You can see it. You can work with it. If something's less dense, it's like the air. You know it's there, you just can't see it. And based on what I've been reading, as we get higher and higher in dimensions, the things become lighter and lighter because there's more and more energy. So is that what they're referring to? Is the thickness, the viscosity of reality?
Viscosity, that's good. Yes, yes. Existence on the earth is very dense, which, well, the gravity of earth helps to keep beings on earth very dense. And that is one reason why many beings, when the physicality is done, they choose to become corporeal again on earth, to experience the gravity, to experience the density. It's fascinating to many beings. Because I don't know. I'm not going to say there are no other dense planets in the universe.
That's a
But
good question.
I suspect that Earth might be the densest, the most dense.
You had mentioned earlier saying that there aren't many 3D worlds existing.
Right.
See, that's the question I forgot about. One of them that she just reminded me of. Why is that?
Well, you also said not anymore. Like they're
Yeah, there's less number than used to be.
Well, many have achieved enlightenment to the point where, I hope that doesn't come up on the recording. Her stomach is growling. To where their density lightened to the point where they don't need physical existence anymore. There are others, like Bashar's people, that are almost to that point where they don't need physical existence anymore. But physical existence is attractive. Many beings want it, hence they keep trying. And Earth is very attractive to such people, despite its linear idea of time. It's just because it's so unusual. The density of Earth is so unusual. It is a thing of fascination for other beings who may not be so enlightened, that they are so close to source that they just kind of, oh, well, here we go again, kind of, an attitude. There they go. Let them do it. Because it is still experience. It still is learning. It still is becoming more enlightened. Let's go back a little bit. And you do understand that Earth is unique.
Yes, you've talked about that before.
Do you remember why Earth is unique?
Not off the top of my head. Why?
Because It's the only planet where true, maybe I shouldn't start with that, but it has such biodiversity. No other planet in the universe has that. It is also unique in the, well, now words are escaping me. All I can think of is free speech. That's not
Free will.
Yes, that's the one you're rubbing off on us all.
I'm also helping you all then.
Yes. Yes. True free will.
I've been reading about that a lot lately.
That is why so many beings who come to this earth, when their physical 3D body passes, they want to come back. It's all right for a while if there's actually something more to be gained from it, from an incarnation. But some spirits get caught in a loop, so to speak, and keep returning even though they don't really need to. They return because they're fascinated. Anyway, that's off subject. I think.
Or is it? Is that why I keep returning?
No.
Okay.
You keep returning because you still have a bucket load of learning to do.
Thank you. Okay. So why do ETs want to return? That's what you're telling us.
Oh, I was talking about spirits returning.
Oh, yes.
But the ETs want to help. It's kind of like for two reasons. One, they want mankind, for the most part, to rise up and become part of the Galactic Federation, or whatever you want to call it, but to raise their frequencies and for everyone to join everyone else and know all the energies, big ball of energy. It's so exciting. I don't know if any of that picked up on your recording.
Probably did.
Anyway, but it's also that it is an exciting place to be, to observe. There are ETs who just observe. Again, fascination. The uniqueness of mankind, the uniqueness of Gaia herself. I just had a mental picture of, say, a whole row or classroom, perhaps, of various ETs, as you call them, sitting like this, just in awe and watching everything. It's not quite like that. Earth and you humans are fascinating to the rest of the, I was going to say the galaxy, but even the universe. And beautiful. Beautiful people, beautiful diversity on this planet. Yes, Gaia, you are beautiful. I know she's not that sort of sentient.
Yes.
But
she can sense
yeah.
a certain amount of energy.
See? Next question. Are we done with that one?
As we become more enlightened as a world, will gravity reduce?
If that is the collective agreement.
Okay. That's the answer I expected.
Okay.
So if the gravity does reduce, will its inhabitants notice the change?
Oh, yes. Some will. Uh, Again, it's like enlightenment. It'll be to different degrees.
So those more enlightened will not notice the change, but those who are less will?
I was thinking more in the reverse.
Oh, okay.
Those who are more enlightened will get more excited about how light they feel
Okay.
and the knowledge that they don't need to stay put on Earth if they don't want
Yeah.
to physically. There's many billiard balls, and when they are struck and they spread out, that could be many prayers, many intentions, and they can bounce all around. Technically, though, prayers and intentions aren't limited to the table or the pockets. They continue to bounce around and magnify and gain more strength, more intensity as they go. And so multiple prayers, multiple intentions for world peace, for humanity to, something she just read, or you mentioned this maybe. If you want peace, then quit fighting. And it's already happening with the war in Ukraine, where the Russian peoples are saying enough is enough. They don't want to fight anymore. They want peace. Whether their leadership listens to them or not is another thing. But from there, I think, personally, believe that the people of Ukraine want peace. And their leadership likewise wants peace. And they're fighting to protect their homes and families as best they can from being absorbed into a repressive society. They don't want to have to fight to get it, but that seems to be what they have to do, so they'll do it. But they too would much prefer peace. And the Russian people picked up on that and other billiard balls of peace and intentions, and it's spreading across the world. Not that it's perfect yet, not that leadership has finally decided to quit being repressive, to quit warring. But as you know, in order for humanity and the earth to be lifted frequency-wise, vibrationally, it takes a fraction of the vast multitude of people on the earth right now to do that act of lifting. And so, yes, continue praying and having intentions of sending thoughts of peace and love and acceptance out to the world. So, it doesn't matter how many times. In fact, the more the merrier.
Back in session 16, the visitor talked about the non-human power source at Skinwalker Ranch and that it was for non-human ships and equipment. Are there other such power stations around the earth?
Yes. Now and have been for millennia. Yes.
Okay. I'm not going to ask where, because, well, yeah, where? That'll help.
I think you're pretty much familiar with ones like Sedona. There's one in the Ukraine area, Central Eurasia.
That would
there.
explain a lot, because there's been a lot of reports of UFOs in Ukraine lately.
Well, of course, with the war going on,
Yeah.
that contributes as well. But yes, Turkey. Of course, the pyramids of Egypt, which humans have yet to figure out what they're about, which is fine. Antarctica has one. Where else? Is that Sedona? Sometimes it works out that when there's a grouping of like-minded humans coming together and meditating together, focusing on things like, the health of Gaia, love going out to the world to lift humanity's frequencies. Sorry.
It's okay.
And sometimes when that happens, that's one reason Sedona became, it kind of worked together. There's a portal at Sedona. There is higher frequencies like crazy in Sedona. And because of people sensing that, then more and more people grouping together, and they're increasing the frequencies and the sensitivities. They're building on what was there, and then it builds and builds, and it's amazing.